G'day everybody, Max right here, and Bitcoin having a rough day, down 3,500 we see right here behind my head. Dodge, dodge, dodge. We're going to talk about what we're looking for coming up in the next few days to see, are we going lower? Are we going to come back stronger, better than ever? Or are we going to trend sideways for a little bit? We're going to take a look at all three scenarios and see exactly how that goes so that by the end of this video, you have a pretty good idea of exactly what to think about. Guys, so let me know to start with. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? We going lower? We're going higher? We're going sideways? All right, I'll check in with you again at the end to see if your mind has changed once I have revealed what I am going to reveal to you. Before we get to that, a few little things. Check it out. Do you know anything different about me? What do you see? What do you see? Green screen. Hello. The background that so many people complained about is out. And now you can't see how messy a room I'm in. And we've got here on the green screen. Let me know if you like the green screen below. And I like it. My black hair on the black background. I didn't even bother doing it. If I don't have to do my hair, this is great. I might make way more videos. So this is kind of cool. All right, let's get into this. And we're going to talk about, so I made dozens upon dozens upon dozens of public YouTube predictions last year. 2 of them were wrong. 2. Out of all of those, 2 were wrong. I got who won the election, who would win the election. I got who would steal the election. I predicted Bitcoin would have this massive run up at the end of in Q4 2020. I just predicted so many things I predicted right. But I got 2 things wrong, and they're both relevant today. We're going to revisit both of those things, see what I can learn about it. So here we go into it. So as we can see, right in here, we have this big fall off right here, big fall off. And as I said, $3,500 down today. You are looking at the hourly chart of Bitcoin. So here's a couple of things to note. The first thing that jumps out at me at this with this chart is this lower high compared to this high. All right, this has me very, very concerned. I say concerned. I actually want the price of Bitcoin to go down. For those invited people, I'll be starting a fund here in the next few weeks, and I want the Bitcoin price to crash significantly, and that would be absolutely perfect timing for me. The universe has a way of doing exactly what it is to help me. I don't know why. I think it's my positive energy, but the universe really, really helps me out. I wouldn't be surprised if just for my sake, Bitcoin crashed down. Very much a possibility. So this lower low is a very, very big concern. Could indicate a trend reversal, okay? Now, as it stands now, we've come down, we've got a few little green candles. We seem to be loitering around this section, which is an area of resistance support. So we have this little peak here, we have this little peak here, and so there is a little bit of resistance and support here. And the question is, are we going to crash through, or are we going to go back up? So that lower low is a concern. Now, what would be an equally big concern, and the 2 things combined, I would say would be very, very concerning, is if we put in a lower low below this, right here. If this, let's check out what this price level is. This is 30,000. If it comes down and breaks through 30,000 and gets into this zone here and confirms a lower low and a lower high, that is, by textbook definitions, a trend reversal, and we are now in a downtrend. I don't think we're in a macro downtrend. I still think 2021 is going to be an epically positive year, but possibly for weeks or even months, we could go into a downtrend, a short-term downtrend within the bull market. So there are 2 big things to look for to confirm that. It's going to break through 2 points. So there is this very nice line of support here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, wick 5, wick and candle and body 6. And if we break down firstly through this trend line and then through this guy right here and break down in but sub 30, I think you're going to see the Bitcoin price drop down quite significantly. So this is obviously the bearish case. Now, significantly, how low is significantly? Let's check that out. Let's kick over to the weekly so I can really easily put on my 21 weekly moving average and see where it's at. 21 weekly moving average here is this blue line. No, let's not do that. Really? Okay. And this is the daily, not the weekly. Oh, that was for nothing. Weekly. The 21 weekly moving average. Presently, it is at 18,000 on the dot, but every week, it's going up over $1,000. So if it takes a week or two to get all the way down to here, we have this previous all-time high at, let's call it $20,000. That's this green line here. And so what happened was this thing shot up very, very quickly. I'll go back to the daily now that we've got those numbers. You can see Bitcoin just went ballistic after $20,000 and shot straight up. It didn't loiter around and create any areas of resistance. That's none significant. There's a little patch here and a little patch here, but nothing significant. What does that mean? When it doesn't create any little serious levels of resistance on the way up, when it crashes down, there's nothing to catch it, right? And it just comes all the way back down to whatever was previous. And when it goes up that high, it can come down that fast very, very quickly, okay? So we have very few levels of support here, okay? So in a couple of weeks, the 21-week moving average is going to be right on the all-time high of 20,000, which was obviously a huge point of resistance, less so than I thought actually, but we spent about a month battling the 20,000 all-time high. I thought we would have spent more. But nonetheless, it is a significant point of resistance. It'll be support now. I think between the 21-week moving average and the $20,000 previous all-time high, I think that is really as low as you can get. If it goes down there, I would be snapping it up around about the $21,000 mark, because every man and their dog will be trying to buy it at 20,000 and you probably won't get filled. Get yourself signed up to the exchange, get your money on the exchange, get ready to rock and roll, because at 21, 22, 23, you're gonna feel like a genius. It's gonna be great. If you try and get that 20,000 exactly, you're probably gonna miss out. If it goes down there at all, it'll wick down there for like 2 minutes. So I would be setting my buys in there somewhere between the 22, 23, if we see this break down and you see it heading towards that kind of an area. All right, let's go back to the hourly. Few other things that need to be worthy of mention. So Bitcoin loves its symmetrical triangles. Absolutely loves them. You know, arguably, we are putting them in right here. And we just see time and time again. There's one here, yes. There's one here, yes. Just if you watch this channel, we've been watching them over and over. There's another one here. Bitcoin has its run up, symmetrical triangle, breakout, okay? So if this comes down, kisses this line, comes back up, comes up here, remember, usually 63% of the way, around about that, 63% of the way from the tail to the apex. So round about here for 63% of the way, around about here is where it breaks out, okay? So that probably gives it time to come down, come back up, and break out. Now, it can break out of a symmetrical triangle up or down, very, very possibly. And that's kind of it. You'll know if you're in a symmetrical triangle precisely by whether or not you put in the lower low. If this comes down and breaks the lower low, that's not a symmetrical triangle. Now you are in a downward channel. You're in a downward channel, okay? Lower highs, lower lows, you're in a downward channel. But if we bounce off this red line, we are in a symmetrical triangle. If it comes down and bounces off 30,000, well, now you've got this situation, all right? Where you have this is the base, right? And this trend line still maintains, this one disappears, and now you possibly have a descending triangle. And either way, if it goes into a symmetrical triangle or a descending triangle, you play it exactly the same way. Look for around 2/3 of the way on the way to the apex. From here to the apex, 2/3 of the way through, plus or minus a little bit, is usually where the breakouts happen. If they break out, you can trade it up. If it breaks down, you trade it down. It's as simple as that. Symmetrical triangle or descending triangle. Very, very easy to manage. And then if it does, then the bullish case is if it does break out through this top trend line, either in the descending triangle or the symmetrical triangle. Where are you looking for it to go? Well, the method of choice is usually the size. So if it's here, it could be here. If it was a symmetrical triangle, it would be here. I'll choose here this time to give you a little bit of an idea. Make some room to get our thing there. Let's say it breaks out about here, and that would put the thing at the price at $48,000. $48,000 actually has a little bit of confluence with some fib extension levels, by the way. So I know a couple of, I think Max Kaiser's short-term prediction is for $48,000. Okay, so there's a few arguments to say we get there around this $48,000 mark if we break out of this trend line. So one way to play that, let me show you how to do that. We'll do a long position from here. So you wait for confirmation. You wait for it to break out. Let's say we're down here and it breaks through this trend line here, around about here, all right? You would go ahead and place your order there. You would put your stop loss, well, you put your gains up about your target. Is a little bit inside because you need to get filled. And you would put your stop loss down back below, because if it goes up and breaks above, it might come back down and test this trend line before going off. So you put your stop loss about down here, okay? And that would give you, come back, that would give you a risk-reward ratio of almost 4 to 1, right? So that's a really good trade. And we've been doing this trade over and over and over again. I told you, the ascending triangles, it breaks, this little consolidation period. Sometimes it consolidates in a symmetrical triangle, a descending triangle, or an ascending triangle. You play them all the same way. In this market, if it breaks through on the upside, the trend is your friend until the end. You can almost expect it to go to up to that $48,000 mark. And so you would enter your trade here, you close out your trade here, and your stop loss is set around about here. I'll tell you what it is. It's 36,700. But it all depends where it breaks out. I'm more interested in teaching you the methodology. Okay, so that is how this little guy would be played out on the upside. Okay, if you want to short Bitcoin, you're a brave person. Shorting Bitcoin in this kind of a year, so be it. But if you want to do that, I definitely wouldn't do it on the breakout of this trend line, but on the breakout of the lower low, that is probably round about here. If I was going to short this, and I'm not, but if I was going to, I would do it like this. If it broke down here, I would open my position here. I would set the stop loss back in here. And how low would I go? You would use let's check out a few different ways. One is this exact same methodology. We go from here to here. Yeah, that'll do it. And you would say, let's say it might break out from here, for example. And then you would put the long position down there. You'd bring it a little bit inside, make sure you get closed out. And you could argue that at $23,000, you would exit that position. Remember I said around $21,000 to $23,000 is where you'd want to jump into the position if it did break down there. If that was the point, I would cash out my profits and then I would just do a long-term buy and hold. I wouldn't even mess around with the stop loss. I would just, getting that Bitcoin at $23,000 right now would be absolutely epic. Anything under that mark is amazing. And that is how I would play that. But all it depends on waiting for confirmation of breaking out of these different patterns. Okay, we always wait for the breakout. Very, very important. So let's get in here. I'll take a little bit tight look in here. Let me get back on auto and just see what we're doing in here. Yeah, we're still waiting around this mark. It's deciding what it wants to do. So we're going to wait and see what it does. That's how it works. Now, I mentioned earlier that there were, actually before we do that, let me know in the comments below, did your opinion change as a result of watching this video about whether or not we're going to go down, up, or sideways? And I'll put some predictions in here. Actually, no, I'll save that for in a minute. We've got some cool predictions for you coming up. And let's look about, okay, so one of the, I mentioned at the beginning, there was 2 errors of bad predictions I made last year. Very happy to admit it because I want to learn from it. What happened? One prediction was on its way up to 20,000. I'll get back to the daily. In this, I predicted this very, very steep curve. In fact, I believe I used this green line here as to say this very, very steep part is the other side of the cup, and then we're going to go up here. But what I predicted was a handle bouncing off the 20, coming back in and up. That prediction turned out to be wrong. So I'm sorry for everybody who waited for that handle. It didn't win, and we all lost. Me too. I missed out on the vast majority of my position is Bitcoin, so I enjoyed this for 95% of my portfolio. But my trading playful money, I actually missed a huge chunk of this, so very bad trading for me. But I was on holidays, whole bunch of excuses, blah, blah, blah. But prediction one that failed. This handle never came at all. So the question is, are we going to come back down? into this kind of situation from way up here at the 40 mark back down here? Is that the correction that I've been talking about? And it was just happened way later than I thought and way after a huge extension. Now the other bad prediction that I made last year, and we got to get in here to the Bitcoin dominance chart. And the question is, and here's where I got a big prediction for you, is what's happening on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Check this out for a bad prediction. Right here, I noticed that the Bitcoin dominance was coming down. We were setting in lower lows from here. And I said right here, this is probably the beginning of altcoin season. Well, what an absolute wretch of a prediction that was, because the Bitcoin dominance chart turned around and just absolutely skyrocketed and went ballistic. So we came all the way up here to 72, 74, and we actually, oh wow, I didn't even realize that. Is that legit? Oh yeah, we hit like multi-year highs. I mean, it hasn't been there since mid-2017 during the ICO craze. So Bitcoin really did a number on the alts. And you hopefully wanted to be all in alts. You hopefully wanted to be all in Bitcoin. So yeah, my prediction there was a weak one. But let's look about what Bitcoin dominance is doing. My feeling is we're starting to get into altcoin season now. A lot of things have pumped. I'm just looking here on the right. We have Ethereum obviously up to $1,100. We got Link up, just hit an all-time high the other day, back down to 19. What else have we got? Oh, these are the Bitcoin pairs. Let me go to my other watch list, which is mainly dollars. I think Dash is doing really well. Dash is doing really well. Polkadot went absolutely ballistic just in the last few days. So alts are really starting to show, and that is primarily a result of Bitcoin being boring the last, what is this, daily? A week. This is just incredible. Bitcoin trades sideways for a week. People get bored, jump into alts. It's a fascinating dynamic. Now, if Bitcoin trends sideways, starts playing around and going here and just going sideways, I predict we will go into alt season, another altcoin season, okay? However, if Bitcoin skyrockets, I think Bitcoin will leave the charge and you'll see the Bitcoin dominance go back up. And if Bitcoin collapses, I think you might see a short-term dip in the Bitcoin dominance, but alts will get hurt even worse. And so it's very interesting. For alt season to start, it traditionally starts when Bitcoin gets boring. And we're only 6 days into boring, 7 days into boring, something like that. And so it really depends. It's only if Bitcoin boredom, if it just stays in a channel, and let's just say it goes sideways and stays somewhere in this range for a while, right? Hangs out in here. Yeah, I can very much see, especially by about this period, altcoins really going ballistic and claiming back some of that Bitcoin dominance, probably bringing it back down inside this trend line. Time will tell. And on the Bitcoin dominance chart, we have a little bit of a descending triangle right here. And we're going to see if this Bitcoin dominance chart breaks out one way or the other. And we'll see. That will really that'll have a big impact on what happens to the Bitcoin price. All right, guys, let me know if you like this content in the comments below. Please go ahead, click subscribe. I'm back at home now. We got a green screen. I don't have to do my hair anymore. Why wouldn't I make more videos? But your subscribers give me the fuel to do that. Please like this video, share it with as many people as you can, and I will see you guys in the next video. By the way, the next video will probably be on BitChute. It will be a political one. Not everyone likes my political content. Some people only like the Bitcoin content. That's cool. That's your choice. But I can tell you now, I am a macro investor. And although I've told you the 2 things I got wrong, believe me, I got dozens and dozens of things right. And let me give you a little pitch here on what a macro investor is. A macro investor is somebody who has no attachment to any asset class, but stands way back and is just looking for what is the market not properly pricing risk into. And the biggest macro trade of the last 10 years, the reason I've been in Bitcoin since 2012, is the big blinding risk of sovereign default or serious currency collapse or serious economic collapse, just like in 2008. The markets have not priced this in at all, and Bitcoin is the insurance policy against that happening. As you know, the more likely something happens, then if you want to buy insurance for that thing to happen, then the higher the premium is, right? Your life insurance, if you're 80 with cancer, is really, really high. If you're young and 20, it's really, really low. The Bitcoin price is the premium on a currency collapse, an economic collapse, a sovereign collapse. And I recognized 8 years ago in 2012 that the risk premium that people are paying for something that is arguably inevitable, let alone likely, is absolutely ridiculous. And so I went all in on Bitcoin, and it's done very, very well for me. I've been involved in some other macro trades as well, but that was my biggest position by far, and it's also the most profitable, turned out to be as good a choice as I possibly could have made. The reason I was able to do that is my model of the world is very, very accurate. It's very accurate. Time and time and time again, my predictions for what happens in the big scheme of things is significant. I'll give you an example of how I'm ahead of the trends. I think late February is when the government said you got to wear masks, right? And lots of states were doing that. Lots of places around the world started doing masks. And actually some didn't start until whenever. I was watching the China situation unfold in December, January and February. And I started getting masks, and even before anyone was wearing masks, I was the weird geek in the grocery store wearing masks, because the information coming out was this was scary, but we didn't quite know what, and yada, yada, yada. And I was the only person. I was ahead of the trend. I was the only one working it. By late March, April, I realized it was a complete crock of nonsense. It was absolute horseshit, and I stopped wearing my mask, and that's about the time everybody else started jumping on the masks. That's an example of how, by being ahead of the trend, now you can do that. You can invest in 3N, you can bank on the market crashing, you can do a whole bunch of things. When you anticipate these things happening, the ways you can position yourself, because the market did not price in a pandemic in January 2020. By March, they had priced it in, and there was a shit ton of money to be made, right? So when you understand things that are risks, and you understand herd mentality, and your model of the world is accurate, the things that you can predict and the things that you can make money on is absolutely unlimited. It is absolutely unlimited. And unfortunately, because of just ridiculous censorship, anything worth saying cannot be said on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And it's certainly not being said by the mainstream media. So if you want to understand major shifts that are coming and position your portfolio accordingly and get yourself in front of a tidal wave of investment and trend changes and things that are happening, it's very, very important that you have an accurate model of the world. Mine has proven to be absolutely outstanding at predicting geopolitical events, Bitcoin events, economic events, lots of things. Because it's not just prices of markets. I mean regime changes and for example, the heavy-handedness, the heavy-handedness of big tech censorship, I predicted that. That's there. It's one of my predictions. I predicted that would happen. So as a result, I know, don't be investing in Facebook, don't be investing in Twitter. The big things that did really well between March and sort of the end of the last year. I knew, not so much Netflix, a little bit different, but the ones that were going to be doing the censoring, I knew those prices were going to tank. We've seen it on Twitter, and let's have a quick look. I don't have Twitter, but well, Apple doesn't censor, so it's not really relevant. What is Apple? Apple's just loitering at 127. But I know Twitter's crashed. I'm sure Facebook has, although I don't look. I don't pay attention to the stock markets. I don't look. But those are the kinds of things where when you understand the macro and you anticipate geopolitical events, world-changing events, it becomes very, very easy to get out of harm's way and also get into things that skyrocket your wealth. As it turns out, once you know all this stuff, really, really easy, the answer has been for the last 8 years, go be in Bitcoin, you dumbass. That's where it's been. It will continue to be the answer for the vast majority of people, well, for many years to come. But if you have other investment, things on the side, real estate, stocks, and whatever else, the accuracy of your model of the world is critically important to your success as an investor. It happens to be what I'm an absolute expert at. Year after year after year, my predictions have just been epically true. And sadly, I can't even give my predictions anymore. I can give my predictions, but I can't give the justifications for them on YouTube anymore because you just can't say the truth. You have to lie. Did you just see that? That was a flash crash, right? We all saw that? That was just a Bitcoin dominance chart, sorry. Near irrelevant. And so And so, yes, that is a very, very important thing. So please, in the link in the description, you'll see a link to my BitChute channel. That's where I can talk about the things that cannot be spoken about. So go ahead, click on that link and subscribe to that channel over there, create an account, and you will be able to get my geopolitical and macro trends. And I'm going to do a really huge update. In fact, I think I might do it tonight, although I'll release it tomorrow. Just a huge update on my predictions for 2021, what to expect, and all the things that are going to happen, how you can protect your family, how you can save your wealth, how you can massively create your own wealth. All of that's going to be discussed in this video. I would love to do it as a live stream, by the way, but BitChute doesn't have the technology to do that, and you can't say it on YouTube. So it's sad, but that's the way it's going to have to be, because I would have loved to be able to take your questions, but I won't be able to do that on BitChute. So I'll record that tonight, and we'll, you guys should really enjoy that tomorrow. So please consider subscribing to my BitChute channel. All right, guys, like and subscribe this video for me, please, and I will see you soon. Ciao.